All right, here we go. Football Friday, Sports Bet Betting Insight today. Paulie and Teddy, Friday, October 12th. All the betting news you need to know in less than 20 minutes. We'll go through the NFL and the big games coming up in a second, play of the day as well. Last night, Giants took money, the home dog angle, which now falls to 16-7, and home teams had crushed it on Thursday nights. But as we talked about with the game preview, the Giants are being priced like they're a good team. They have lost 18 of their last 22, more turnovers for Eli, Teddy.
Yeah, I'm so annoyed with myself for not having a big bet on the Eagles last night. I mean, it was pretty obvious pretty early into the game that the Giants were still going to be the Giants. 3-13 last year. They went into last night's game 1-4. What are they, 1-5 now? And it was a no-show. Yep. And the thing that baffles me is like the mainstream media today is like, oh, the Giants need to replace Eli. Have you watched Eli for the last 2 years? You know, he's been a bottom-tier quarterback. Now he loses on national TV, and now you want to replace him? Bottom line, bettors got this one wrong. Giants, wrong side loser. And bookmakers made out pretty well on Thursday Night Football.
+3 down to 1.5, lost by 21. Also lose some bad bets. Georgia Southern and Texas State over 49 up to 52, not even close, 15-13. Southern was laying 17. They needed to stop a 2-point conversion late to win that one. They are 5-1 with the only loss at Clemson, but they showed nothing in that game last night. Hockey, Lightning 260 up to 280, lost at home to the Canucks. Calgary +120 down to 105, lost 5-3 in St. Louis. Capitals Devils over 6 up to 6.5, 6-0 final. And NBA, Toronto said everybody, didn't matter. Pelicans from 4 up to 8, lost 134 to 119.
That's the beauty of the NBA preseason. But let's talk about that Georgia Southern Texas State game last night where the steam came in on the over. Great line from my old friend Andy Isko's. He's been around this town for a long time. He used to go, you can't cover 17 when you don't score a 17. The Georgia Southern's offense did absolutely nothing. And Texas State, who is a bottom 5 college football team, they played good defense. Let's give them credit for hanging tough. Bottom line is that was not a good game for bettors. Pretty good one for the books.
I didn't see that coming. Texas State was awful. They got run out by Rutgers earlier in the season. Check out these hockey totals as well. You're seeing 6.5s every night. And then the first periods continue to fly over as well in hockey. But bad for the books. Bruins 155 up to 170. They won 4-1. My friend Brian Blessing, hockey expert, said bet Florida over until further notice because Luongo's out 2 to 4 weeks. So far, so good. 5.5 up to 6. They lost at home 5-4 against Columbus. Rangers +150 down to 125. Scored late, then won in overtime, beat the Sharks 3-2. And the Thursday night game, Giants over 44 up to 45.5. Fell 47. TCU's offense is broken. Duffy was the quarterback. Bowman still out with the collapsed lung. 61 down to 57. 17-14 final. Tech wins on the road.
Yeah, bettors got that one right. Bettors got both of the totals right. But certainly, when you talk about this TCU offense right now that couldn't move the ball against Iowa State. Remember, last week, Oklahoma State hung 42 against Iowa State's defense. TCU barely got to 17 in that game. Last night, they only got to 14 against Texas Tech. All that under money cashes in. The Sharps had the total in Texas Tech TYU spot on.
What do you have in Pros Joes?
Yeah, Pros Joes. Let's talk about what we've seen so far. The pros, well, I'm going to talk about all the numbers that are gone. Arizona, the +10.5. They're all gone now. Pros wiped those out. The Bears took out the pros were all over the Bears. The -3s, they're gone now, up to 3.5. The Redskins are now favored. That's been a popular pro play this week. Carolina opened as the chalk there. The Bucks +3.5. They're all gone. Tampa down to 3 at Atlanta. That's a wise guy play. The Jags -1.5 up to -3 at Dallas. Wise guys on Jacksonville. And certainly the pros and the Joes have been betting Baltimore. The Ravens pick up to -2.5 at Tennessee. The Joes, you already know who the Joes are going to bet. They're either going to bet on the teams that looked good last week or against the teams that looked bad last week. So what do we got? Jaguars, and of course they're going to bet the Rams. That's the Joes team right now. Jaguars, Falcons, Rams, Bears. Those appear to be the 4 most popular public sides going into the NFL weekend.
All right, let's go. Show me game for the Bengals at home against the Steelers. They are 2 and 52.5 the total. Can Cincinnati get to 5-1? They are 1-7. Dalton and Green are 1-7 against the Steelers. Ben is 14-2 in Cincinnati, and Marvin Lewis is 5-18 against Tomlin. This is ugly. And Miami ran the ball well against Cincinnati last week. It was 17-0. They blew it. Since he didn't do much on offense, 2 defensive touchdowns in the second half to come back and win and somehow get the miracle cover. And the Steelers have owned them here. They're off the nice win, dominating Atlanta at home. This is a game Cincinnati has been able to win, and we'll see if Dalton and Green can get it done. What's your level of confidence in the Bengals at home?
Not that high. And a lot of it has to do with, as you talked about, the series history where Tomlin has owned Marvin Lewis in Cincinnati. We talk about the history of the Bengals. Look, the last time Cincy won 3 in a row, 2015, October 2000, wasn't even late in the season, was 3 years ago. So to see the Bengals off back-to-back wins and say, all right, now they're going to really put it together, Cincy consistently hasn't been able to do that. Now, the Bengals did get a nice addition with Burfict back in the lineup last week. And they held Tannehill to 5.3 yards per pass attempt. That's not going to happen against Big Ben and that Pittsburgh offense. And we saw the Steelers last week legitimately play their first complete game of the season. Prior to the game, it was almost like the Aaron Rodgers scenario where they're like, remember when the Rodgers was like, relax, RELAX, we're going to be fine. Roethlisberger, after that 1-2-1 start, was like, the quarter point of the season, you guys got to relax. We're going to put it together. And obviously they came back with their best game of the campaign. I can understand why this number is short. I don't want Cincy laying points against a Steelers team that might have just found their mojo.
Yes, that is 1-7 at home for Dalton and Green. Too very important here as they're at home laying a short number. See if they can get it done. The Bears are 3.5 and 41.5 in Miami. The Bears are off the bye in that 48-10 shellacking of the Bucs. Will the real Trubisky stand up? He had 6 touchdowns in that game. It was a major disappointment. Other than that, but Tampa's got the second worst defense in the league. Cause for concern here: a great ferocious pass rush against a banged up Miami offensive line, and a good breakdown from Greg Rosenthal. The Bears are awesome third down defense, and Tannehill has just been dumping it down and checking it down on third down and not taking any shots down the field. How's Miami going to move the ball if they're constantly in third and long?
If they're constantly in third and long, they won't be able to move the football because that's not Ryan Tannehill's strength. And obviously last week, he had a real problem throwing short of the sticks on third down tries at Cincinnati. And of course, the quarterback's supposed to get the ball out of his hands to his receivers and give them a chance to make plays in space. But on third downs in particular, you got to throw enough to get a first down. And given the Dolphins' banged up offensive line, that OL looked outmatched in the second half last week. That's a problem, obviously, going against Khalil Mack and the most dangerous pass rush in the NFL right now. The Bears defense can smother Ryan Tannehill on third and longs, but we have to be concerned spot-wise about this. For Chicago, say, what are you talking about? The Bears coming off a bye week, the Dolphins coming off back-to-back losses. How's that a good spot for Miami? Simple. Miami's off back-to-back losses against good teams on the road. Now it's circle the wagon times back home. And we've seen the Dolphins take care of business at home so far this season. On the other end of the equation, I would much rather have a team that stunk going to the bye week than a team that came out with a giant blowout win where everything worked perfectly going into the bye week. Then they spend here, for the next 2 weeks, everyone tells them how great they are and how great everything is going. And you don't necessarily see the attention to detail that you want to see from these squads in that first game back. So, Miami is not better than Chicago. But the question is, what do you think about the Bears? Because this line at 3.5, the Bears are being priced like a Super Bowl contender. In my mind, that's a little bit rich.
That was around the same line when they went to Arizona, and we're lucky to get the win, too. Football Outsider says this is the number 1 defense in the league. Hard to argue there. Trubisky's got to prove it to me again. Trends: Miami, 6-2-1 ATS run as a dog at home. Vance Joseph, 2-14-1 ATS run 1-7 at home. Minnesota 13-2 to the under. At home is a favorite of 10 plus. Washington 1-6 ATS at home off a Monday night game. Tampa Bay 12-3 to the over on the road with more than 6+ days of rest. Raiders 2-13 under run before the bye. And Tennessee 15-3-1 to the over against the AFC North. And that leads us to Dallas, who's on a 12-2 under run, 0-7 at home ATS off overtime, and a 6-1 run to the under as a dog. Jacksonville is 340.5 the total in Dallas. We know it's well documented. Garrett's better on the road as opposed to home. It's also something to look at too, Teddy. It's happened many times this year. How do these teams do the week after they play a fifth quarter?
Yeah, and so far this year it has not been particularly good by any stretch of the imagination, especially the teams that coming off the overtime loss have really, really struggled. That being said, I mean, the quotes out of that Dallas locker room are pretty, it sounds pretty good. Zeke Elliott, one thing that's good about this group that we have in this locker room, there hasn't been any finger pointing at all. Even when as an offense we struggled this year, we go over to the defense like, hey, we're sorry, we didn't hold up our end. They're like, no, we need to do more. We need to go out there and win the game. You guys don't have to go out there and win it. There's enough accountability in this locker room. There's not going to be any finger pointing. Defensive lineman, Tyrone Crawford. It's a big one this week. I mean, we ain't no suckers. We don't go into nothing scared. We're going to go into this game and give them all we got, man, and do what we do. I've got full confidence in this defense against any team in history for that fact. We're ready to rock. So for all the Jason Garrett's on the hot seat and Scott Linehan doesn't know what he's doing anymore and all of that, the quotes coming out of the locker room in Dallas are positive, but Dallas had their first non-padded practice on a Wednesday this season. Injuries are mounting for the Cowboys, and that's definitely a concern when you think about what Jacksonville's been able to do, both offensively and defensively so far this season.
Well, I hope Garrett's coaching for his job. Should have been fired years ago. That's unacceptable, the punt from the 42-yard line. The other thing is Fournette's out, and what Bortles am I going to get? 7 Jacksonville turnovers, and Bortles had 4 interceptions on the road last week against the Chiefs. He was great against the Patriots, stunk at home against the Titans, moved the ball, but then turned it over against Kansas City. Nasty defense. I don't see how Dallas is going to score.
Well, I mean, the interesting thing about the Jags right now, Bortles is chucking the ball around. They don't have a running back. They signed Jamal Charles this week. I'm fascinated to see if Charles can play or if he gets into the ball game. But obviously, it's a situation for the Jags where right now, most of the offense is coming from Blake Bortles. He's thrown for 818 passing yards the last 2 weeks. He's really chucking it around. They do have playmakers on the outside, but of course, when you get Bortles into passing situations, he tends to make mistakes. That being said, the Cowboys defense has not been good at forcing turnovers this season.
All right. I like the under. They're on a 12-2 under run. Let's keep it going. Under, if you can get 41 in that game as well. I don't see where the points are coming from with both teams. Sunday night, what a matchup. Patriots at home against the Chiefs. Patriots 3.5, 59.5 the total. It was 42-27 last year. Chiefs beat them up on the road, and now you got Mahomes lighting it up. Finally threw an interception last week, but they're 5-0. The Pats are 3-2. Football Outsiders has Kansas City the number 2 offense. The Patriots the number 5 offense. This is Houston's out for the Chiefs. Andy Reid's been great in this spot with a great record, and it also was an underdog. But the Chiefs, and Belichick knows this, the Chiefs jump on teams. They've outscored their opponents 59-9 in the first quarter. This feels like the game where you run the ball, stay with the run. Michelle has over 200 rushing yards the last couple of games. Keep Mahomes off the field, and Brady moves the ball. Also, Gronk can't be happy that people are saying Kelsey's the best tight end in football. You get Gordon, who had this coming out party with a touchdown. Edelman comes back. They look great against the Colts. Got some more rest as well. And I don't know how you feel about the spot either. But the Chiefs had the Monday night win, then a tough game against Jacksonville on the road. Now another road game here as they take on the Patriots and try to stay undefeated.
And of course, it's New England that's been the undervalued commodity, not just this year, not just last year. It's been years where the Patriots have not been valued correctly in the betting markets, giving short shrift. Bill Belichick and company, because their statistical profile is rarely elite. So we're seeing New England in a price range we don't often see them in at home. 3.5 at home. And of course, this is a Patriots team. They're 9-1 against the spread, their last 10 at home. You can go back further than that. It's, it's really impressive in Foxborough. They're playing with revenge for an embarrassing loss they suffered last year. And as you mentioned, they're playing better football right now if we would believe what we see over the last 2 weeks. Because remember, what did they get the last 2 weeks? They got a Colts team that was so banged up they couldn't even have practices. And they have a Dolphins team, literally, they had walkthroughs in the 2 days before the game. New England took care of business on a short week against that. They had a Miami team that was 3-0 and fat and happy. And, we've seen what the market has done to the Dolphins the last couple of weeks. Crashed on Miami. And New England took care of business in that ball game. So we say, are the Patriots fixed because they have those 2 wins? And even if they are fixed, is New England's defense good enough to contain Patrick Mahomes? Remember, Mahomes, 2 picks, no touchdowns against the Jags, didn't play well against Denver, and yet KC won and covered both of those games. Worth noting, the Patriots defense has Trey Flowers back now. He missed the first couple of games of the season, an impact player on the defensive side of the football. But last but not least, aren't a lot of coaches that have Bill Belichick's track record as an underdog. In fact, there's only one coach in the NFL that has Bill Belichick's track record as an underdog. Who's that guy? Andy Reid. Reid and Belichick, the only 2 coaches in the National Football League with winning straight-up records as underdog over the last 5 years.
It's been an ATM machine, the Patriots ATS, the last 3 years, especially at home, an 11-3 ATS run last 14 at home in the regular season. And also, the last 2 years, this is the worst run defense in the league. It's horrible. And Denver gashed them on the ground in that Monday night game, and then they got away from it for whatever reason. And Denver has a number 1 rush attack, and they're 24th in passing offense, according to Football Outsiders. That was a bad game plan by Denver. Stick with the run, and we'll see if they can gash them with Michelle. I think they will, and that'll really open things up for the passing game as well. I'm with you. The line seems short. A lot of people love the spot. I know the guys here in Vegas at the Westgate thought this should have been 4.5 or 5.
Sure, I'm not in any rush to take New England in this ballgame. Make no mistake about it. I'm not convinced that what we've seen from the Patriots over the last 2 weeks is actually what we're going to see from New England this season. No question. Healthier, and it's such a difference when your pass rush is there and when your receiving core is there for a team like the Patriots. But I have to say that both of their opponents over the last 2 weeks have been severely flawed. And I don't think Kansas City's severely flawed. I am a Chiefs believer. So, yeah, this line, make an argument that it should be a notch or 2 higher. You can also make an argument that based on this year, maybe KC should be the road favorite.
I don't agree. This is the game New England wins. I think Hoodie gets some. Chiefs aren't going undefeated. The loss is going to come at some point, and I think it's Sunday night. An advantage for New England. Money time, play of the day. We teased it earlier. The gift that keeps on giving. Cowboys under 271, 272. Jacksonville, Dallas under will grade at 40.5. There are 41s available. I see a 41 at the MGM. That's a late game. Saddle up and ride. That should be like the Seattle game where you look up in the second quarter. No text, Teddy. And you see it's no score midway through the second quarter. All right, we'll recap everything on Monday. Baseball playoffs. So a great card, some marquee games in college, and a good card in the NFL as well. We'll see if the Bengals can exercise the demons, and we'll recap that Sunday night game as well. Loshak in the bag coming up next. I'm at Real Sportsbet on Twitter. He's at Teddy underscore covers. All the betting news you need to know in less than 20 minutes. SBR picks. Thanks for watching. Tell your friends we're back on Monday. Have a good weekend. Good luck out there.
Cheers. Enjoy the games. And Loshak in the bag. 500th show. Kudos, guys. Enjoy.